Hi, Kyler. We are so glad having you in ERP Talk.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here, Khalid. Thank you so much for having me.
So, Kyler, the first typical question in ERP Talks is to tell us more about yourself and how you get involved to the ERP industry.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been in technology marketing for close to 20 years at this point. I pretty much grew up there my entire career. I started in more of the front end digital media side of kind of pioneering those data analytics of how do we attach acquisition of traffic to ROI for the business. And I did that for some very big brands when social media was in its infancy. And so my clients were like Amazon, Harley Davidson, Mountain Dew. I did a lot of action sports too. So how do you essentially create an experience, whether you're at an event, the Dew Tour, a trade show, anything like that, and bring it back to be able to nurture that relationship with your customer. So I did a lot of that, and my love for data kind of brought me more into the enterprise operations and more of a technical marketing space. And how can we market systems in order to understand how they can benefit businesses? So I spent a lot of time in that community of talking about ERP from an independent standpoint and really understanding the talent, the depth, the innovation of the ERP community. And just recently, I started my own practice called the Confluential, which focuses just on core technical marketing. So that really is where I am right now. But it's been a very cool journey to kind of see the evolution of our community right alongside the evolution of technology, Cleed. So I'm very grateful for the experiences that I've had throughout my.
Sounds great. So, you are an analytic person?
Yes, very much. That's why I always say I really hate the word marketing. I truly do, because I feel like it gives us a level of inaccountability so that we don't actually have to produce results. So nothing drives me crazier when I have a friend or colleague that comes to me and says, "Hey, Kyler, so and so told me that there's nothing to measure in marketing. My tactics are going to take me 6 months to see an impact." And that drives me quite literally insane because that is not true whatsoever. Measurement and performance is absolutely key to growing a business, just like enterprise operations analytics are key to optimizing and creating efficiencies within your business.
Okay. So, do you think that the ERP marketer should have this skill, the analytic mindset?
Absolutely. Oh, it's 100%, 120% a must to be able to have that because with us, especially the speed at which technology is evolving, and for us to really be on the forefront of effectively servicing our customers, which is our jobs, right? We need to be able to measure our impact. And if we can't do that to create value-driven content in our marketplace to create a greater good for the industry, then there is no point. You might as well, just go up to your roof and throw money off. So it's not, the best investment if you're not be able to measure the results.
This is really cool. So, Confluential. You
Mhm.
mentioned that you just started Confluential, and good for you.
Thank you.
Congratulations. I believe in you, and I
Oh,
believe that
thank you.
you will do a great job. So, can you tell us more about what motivates you to
Mhm.
start Confluential, and also what is the services that you guys are offering?
Absolutely. So the Confluential, I really modeled it after an ERP implementation. So taking the same sort of methodology that we look at, the assessment of the business, the selection of the MarTech stack, and the implementation of the tools to match the front end business processes, I brought that more into the front end of business entities that focus in the technology space. So we only work with businesses that are under 100 million in revenue and really help them identify the areas in which they can make an impact in the market, whether they're creating a new technology and they're bringing that to market, whether they have advisory services and they're building trust with their overall audience. And a lot of what we do is not just with the front end acquisition of traffic, like a lot of traditional marketing companies, but it's also with at the health of the customer relationship management tool and how are you effectively utilizing that? Because you know better than anyone as a business owner, Clede, that our buying cycle is a very long time, depending on where you are, because it's a big decision to purchase new software or new services for a business. And we need to make sure that we're effectively harvesting that relationship, really nurturing it, even after they've come into our ecosystem. So the Confluential really helps business owners within the ERP advisory field, within AI, business intelligence. We have a few digital twin clients. We have system integrators that really come and decide how do they acquire good quality leads and traffic through creating value in their marketplace, through the content that they put out, supporting the learning and development and greater good of the industry. And the cool part about, being part of our client community is they often cross over in businesses too. And I totally wasn't planning on that when I started it, but it came to the point where, we have some people that work in a certain industry and then finds they need support in organizational change management, leadership, or communication development, and they're able to access our other clientele to kind of share those engagements. So that's the neat part. It's kind of created a community, and I'm extremely proud of each one of the great work that our clients have done, not only from themselves, but also to better the community just in general.
Sounds great. So let's say I want to work with you guys. What
Mhm.
is the first thing that you will do for me?
So the first thing we do, just like any ERP implementation, is we assess the current state. So even if you're like, I don't have any data to assess, like I'm totally a clean state here, we still do it because we need to assess the marketplace. So even for clients that have not launched their new technology yet, we still need to see like what is the sentiment in the marketplace? Where are the target customers? Where are the strategic partners within the industry that could potentially help you to launch this new technology? So the first thing we would go in and we do just a blanket assessment. And the reason that we do that assessment is a deliverable, which shows you all of your data, all of the sentiment around your specific specialty in the marketplace, and then a set of recommendations so that you have the option to say, okay, I have my recommendations. I'm going to go do a DIY marketing initiative, which we'll cheer you on in the background. Or you say, you know what? I am a business owner and I'm going to focus on what I'm good at, which is delivering awesome client work. And I'm going to let you guys kind of do the background for my content distribution, for, my messaging, for my lead generation assets, and kind of builds me a pipeline that's more passive so that I can be focused on that big next project, but not come up from the next project and be like, oh my goodness, I don't have any sort of leads in my pipeline. So now I have a big valley in my business flow. So those are kind of the different pieces, but it really all starts with that assessment.
Perfect. So I have the liberty to do it myself after the assessment, or you guys
Yeah.
can do it
Whatever
for us.
whatever is
Yeah.
best for you. And that's the thing is, we're incredibly transparent about hours. Each week we go over metrics and hours because our business can have ebbs and flows. So sometimes our clients are like, I just got a new project, let's do this, let's go, all of those different things. But sometimes they're like, hey, I'm a bit low, let's back off a little bit, and we can scale kind of up and down with how your business fluctuates.
Perfect. So any discounts for ERP Talks
Oh
listeners?
yeah, yeah, yeah. So for you, anything, Clean. But no, so we would
Thank
love to
you.
offer your audience a 10% off kind of
Perfect.
coupon for that assessment. So what
Perfect.
they can do is either DM you or DM me, but they have to subscribe to the podcast first. That is a
Yeah.
requirement.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that. A
Yeah.
10%, guys, but subscribe first and you will have a 10% on the assessment. Thank you, Kyler, so much for that. I really
Yeah.
appreciate it. So I heard you talking about the migration to S4HANA and
Hmm.
the ECC deadline support.
Hmm.
So Can you tell us more about that? And also, how can people make like a smooth transition, smooth migration, in your opinion?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the ECC support deadline is certainly kind of an unprecedented time that we have right now in our industry. So, just to give you an idea, if you're not familiar,
Okay.
ECC is pulling a lot of their maintenance for certain ECC systems in December of 2027. So, that means that if you have an ECC system that hasn't had an upgrade pack or an extension pack through SAP, then you're going to lose support and maintenance for the system. That doesn't mean that the system is going to like turn off and all your computers are going to start on fire, right? It just means that you're not going to have the maintenance that you typically have from SAP or your SI in that support system. So there's lots of options to kind of look at what you need to go through. And a lot of that comes down to understanding that SAP is a humongous system, right? So we're talking about businesses that are usually large, global, complex businesses that are moving from ECC that they might have just implemented to SAP S4 HANA and a different environment. So a lot of that has to do with data and cloud migration. It takes a lot of resources, not only from the employee side, but also financial resources to be able to invest in this. So right now we see kind of this rush, to get into understanding what's going to happen during that migration. And the reason it's so unprecedented is we don't typically see very big software vendors kind of push this forced migration on many different customers. So they really want customers to get into SAP S4 HANA, and that might be the best option for the
Okay.
customer too. It can the customer consume that type of huge migration right now? So when we talk about how do you do that, I think again, it starts with kind of just the Confluential methodology, but an assessment, right? Reach out to that advisor that you have that you find kind of in the LinkedIn different ecosystem and ask for your specific options because it's going to be really unique to the business. Maybe you do have the resources and you're ready for an SAP S4 HANA migration. Maybe you are. Maybe you have the data governance, the data hygiene to make sure all of that migration is ready to go. But maybe you're like, whoa, I just finished ECC. We're tired. We're broke. We're not ready to do this again, right? So now you have the opportunity to do an assessment and say, okay, these are my options. I can go with a managed service provider that will provide me support outside of SAP. And I'll continue to run ECC because that's what's best for me. And I'll invest in that hosting and managed services. Or, I'll look at potentially purchasing one of the extender packs and then be able to have some more time to be able to plan on implementation to SAP S4 HANA, or maybe I'm going to replace SAP S4 HANA. And that is very unusual, right? We know that a rip and replace of SAP S4 HANA or SAP in general is very, very challenging and expensive. We've seen it happen though. So the goal here, as I say, is just to get all the options on the table. See, here is where I am, and here is my roadmap, and then pick a roadmap and be able to follow what's best for you, not what the vendor wants you to do. That's going to be really key to ensuring that you're keeping your business healthy.
Yeah, this makes sense, and business owners should be prepared for this big transition to avoid a lot of hassle. You mentioned also the pre-assessment.
Mhm.
So, like companies should like do
Yes.
an assessment for their current system processes before hiring the ERP consultants.
So the
Eh,
consultants can help you with that, right? So they can help you do that assessment in general. So you could either look at there's certain businesses that specialize in SAP S4 HANA assessments, and then they help you select like, hey, Khalid and Z Consulto is your best option for going through with this, and we're going to transition over to them. Or they could reach out to you directly, and you could say, I can help you assess this situation and see what is the best option. So there's kind of two different roadmaps
And so you also recommend that it should be a different like entity or a different company or a different consultant, not the vendor that we are dealing with. So if we like
Mhm.
we have SAP and we have our partner and we need someone to do this assessment, it should be a different company or a different person, not the same typical vendor that we are working with all the time.
100%. Absolutely. Just because you have to remember that the vendors have an agenda, right? They have what they're supposed to be doing. And
Yeah,
it's not because they're terrible people or we don't like them, or that's their job, right? Is
yeah,
to get you migrated to the next system. And they might not have kind of the best entrance of the business in mind. And again, it might be your best choice to migrate to their system and follow their recommendation, but you need to do your due diligence as a business leader and bring in someone that's your advocate, that's not trying to sell you something, that is actually dedicated contractually to your business goals, as consultants often are. So they understand the system, they understand, the overall process of that vendor pressure, and they can just help you make that decision. So it's almost like, Khalid, when we become executives, a lot of times we get executive coaches, and they're there to kind of teach us how to be leaders, to hone in our leadership skills, to be good service to our team. This is the same sort of transformation coach, I often call it, because you have someone who's on your side, who's talking you through, like, this is our business goals, this is our collaborative objective. Yeah, we're going to continue with SAP, and our partners are an important part of that, but we're going to make sure that we have a strategy that's best for our business, not best for their bottom line.
okay, perfect, perfect. So if someone needs to hire this individual or this company, do you know some people that may help? Should people reach out to you and ask you if you can
Yeah.
recommend
Oh,
a
sure.
person?
Always. Yeah. I always, to bring that, I know that my friend Sana Asher has an SAP assessment firm, and she's really great. She has this really cool 12-week program where she doesn't come in and do the consulting, but she comes in and does like a 12-week program to assess your current state, to see like where you're at. So that's a great option. There's also a ton of people in the SAP community that you could potentially reach out to, but I'm always available in the DMs. I don't run a consulting firm myself. I just
Okay.
help sell consulting firms. So you can always, reach out to me and ask for a specific partner in that space, because there's a lot of consultancies that's our system specific, whether we're talking about SAP, whether we're talking about IFS, Epicor, Infor, they have a specialty in that area. It's just about finding the ones to be able to work.
Perfect. Guys, if you need any recommendations, reach out to Kyler, and she is a high responsive person. When you send her, she will respond immediately. Reach out to her and she will definitely help you guys. So regarding the community, you mentioned the
Mhm.
ERP community and the diversity. I watch also video. You have been talking about that. What does diversity mean in your opinion for the ERP industry? And what is the strategies do you think can help achieve this goal of the
Yeah.
diversity thing?
Well, I think for diversity, what it means to me is just a level of different opinions and thought processes. And what I think that's great about the ERP community is we're very good at listening to each other, even if we have different approaches in the area. Some people are in love with SAP, some people are against SAP, but they can still come together and decide, like, what is the best process to work together. So I think that's the beautiful thing, is just the mutual respect. So when we have a diversity involved in our conversation, that also means that we need project diversity. So that could be, just a diverse background on your project team, but also diversity in skill sets. We need those technical skill sets. We need those engineers, those developers. Those are very important to the project. But we also need those communicators, we need those organizational change specialists, those business technologists that go between communicating with the executive team and the IT team. We need a diverse group in order to be successful on our projects. And then lastly, I'll just mention the diversity in our community, specifically for, my passion, which is women in ERP. I think there's a great opportunity to bring more women in the space. I know I've followed in the footsteps of some very amazing influences when it comes to women in the space that are both business owners and leaders in the industry. And I'm deeply grateful for that. And I think that our community of women in ERP is unbelievably supportive. If I have a younger person who's interested in breaking into the field and they say, hey, this is my system specialty, I'm thinking about getting into this. This just happened to me a few weeks ago. She wanted to know about warehouse management systems. I know nothing about warehouse. Like, I know what they are, right? But I certainly don't know like what we're going to do as far as implementing them. And I was able to pass and introduce her to a variety of different women in the community. And she now has a full-time role because she had, met those types of people. So I think that's the thing about networking is everyone's so passionate about our community that they want to bring people into our fold. They want to bring a diverse, new, younger group into an industry that's kind of been like old and dusty, if you will, for a while. And we're trying to make it cool again. We're trying to show the opportunity and the creativity that's involved in being in ERP because, and I'll get off my soapbox in a second here, I promise. There is no other industry that's a better problem solver, that's more innovative, that's more motivated because that's what you have to do to be a consultant. Your Tuesday and Thursday are never the same. They're always going to be full of different problems, of different issues that you need to help your clients achieve or solve. And I think that's the coolest part about it is not only the learning experience, but the constant evolution of the services and technology you're providing.
Perfect. The women in ERP, is this a real community or this is like an idea?
Yeah, so that's a good question. I'm trying to make it a real community,
Okay.
like all in my free time. We do have a few like founding members that are starting kind of an association when it comes to women, and we call it Women in Enterprise Tech because we want to include our AI colleagues, our BI colleagues, people that are our database colleagues. So we are working on that. So definitely stay tuned. But if
Yeah.
if you are a woman listening, especially young women that are trying to break into the space, please feel free to reach out. We certainly can get you in touch with people that share your same specialty that can help mentor and grow your skills.
So women are so lucky that they will have this community. I hope we have like men in ERP community, but why men are not doing that stuff? Why?
I don't know, but I will say that if you go on the confluential.com, which you can see how to spell confluential right under my name here, and I'll ask Khalid if he can link it in the description. But I do have in the appointments consulting coaching. So a lot of times people reach out to me and say, like, hey, I'm very interested, both men and women, or however you identify, reach out to me. And then we have a quick call just to ask, like, what is your interest? Is it project management? Is it a certain system? Is it a certain SAP discipline? I kind of listen and then I connect you with anyone that I know in the space. So you can absolutely book that on my schedule. It's an automatic booking. So feel free to put time on there. You can also click on the book a time link on my LinkedIn profile and you can choose that as well. So if you want to talk career and consulting, I'm super passionate again about bringing that into our community and connecting people. So I'm happy to help there too.
This is so smart. Sometimes people feel like I'm an SAP consultant for 5 years now. What is the next step? Should
Mhm.
I like focus on the project management? Should I keep myself in the technical arena or what should I do? And I believe an option like that, someone that have this massive experience like you that I can speak to and you guide me, tell me some recommendations or connect me with someone that may help.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is super beneficial.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm
Yeah.
really just the connector. I connect you with people much smarter than me that could discuss the nuances of the industry. I just happen, to be so grateful to have that network. So I love to be able to share it with people in the space. And then, of course, like, and you know better than anyone, Clede, because you're so good at it. You have to
Thank
do
you.
your due diligence, right? You have to follow up with those people and ask for time time and, try and get on their calendar, and things like that. So it does take motivation on that side, but I at least give you the introduction to be able to do that, the roadmap, or I try.
Yeah, you mentioned that we need this community to be strong and to be healthy. So when someone needs some help, he will find someone like you that can connect or do something. So I believe it's super important, especially for the ERP community, to help each others and reach out to each others, and people will reply. I reach out to many people asking
Hmm.
for advices. They reply, they are open. Even if they are competitors, they
Hmm.
reply to me. I send some emails, hey guys, I will do X, Y, and Z. What do you think? They reply to me. Like, not 100% reply, but like
Yeah.
90% of them reply,
Yeah.
which is good. So reaching out to people is a good thing. It's a smart from you that you do this option. Thank
Mhm.
you for that. So the women community. So you earlier this year, I believe, you spoke at the Women in Tech Summit about
Mhm.
the Terminator effect, the human side of AI.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what is that? Is this the
Yeah.
Terminator the movie?
Yeah, Terminator the movie. Yeah. So if you haven't checked out the Women in Tech Summits, they're all over the country here domestically. It's a great organization for especially younger women that are trying to get in the field and, look at what discipline you have. Men are also invited, I will say. So there's lots of options for everyone to go. But my talk typically that I do at Women in Tech Summits or at other global conferences is called the Terminator effect. And what I do is I take the power of the perception of AI. So we have this almost boogeyman type perception of AI, like it is this terrifying robot monster that's going to come steal our children out of their beds in the middle of the night, right? So, and that's done by pop culture. And a lot of that comes from the Terminator, which is the original kind of AI robot, Arnold Schwarzenegger
Yeah.
character,
Yeah.
right? That comes here to Earth and Earth is taken over by these autonomous robots. So what the talk entails is it showcases and kind of peels back of why that is our perception, why that's important to understand as technical leaders. Because not only are we having to combat just the societal perception of AI, but also we need to understand how our communities perceive AI. So I can't tell you, Khalid, how many times I've seen a very well-intentioned executive go announce to their teams, hey, we're, implementing this new AI process. And they assume that their team is going to be super excited about that because they think, oh my gosh, there's all this opportunity to, automate those manual, boring tasks. They're going to be so excited. They're going to be more efficient. They get this shiny new sparkly technology. And all that employee hears is, I'm going to lose my job. Technology is going to take my job because that executive didn't do their due diligence to kind of measure the perception in their own community, which is their workplace. So the Terminator effect really peels back the misperceptions around the movie The Terminator. For example, the Terminator goes back in time to find Sarah Connor, who Sarah Connor gives birth to the leader of the human revolution. So he basically eliminates all the robots on the earth and they want to find Sarah Connor and ultimately eliminate her so that she doesn't give birth to this person. So they run all over the United States trying to find every single Sarah Connor they could possibly find. But we
Yeah.
know, as data professionals, that actually would never happen. So if you had effective database management, you'd know other data points that could kind of subcategorize or funnel down your output when it comes to who is Sarah Connor, last known address, date of birth, right? Employer. You'd have all of these different areas in which you could access this to know actually who was the Sarah Connor. So it wouldn't just be robots fighting, across the US to kind of find this person. And I show you the importance of peeling back those misperceptions are critical in the workplace as well, because AI is such a an amazing tool with lots of opportunity, but only if the human workforce is willing to embrace those opportunities. And it's our job as leaders to effectively communicate with them, to be transparent with them, to engage them in the overall implementation of AI, to understand their experiences in business processes in order to be most effective in creating user adoption around AI implementation.
This is a new perspective for me, but it's a true story. It happens also in the industrial revolution at the beginning
Mhm.
of the
Oh,
900s.
yeah.
Yeah, people think that, oh, the machines will replace us. So every time people think that something will replace them, and it will never happen, we built those tools, we will use them. And as Mike Taylor, he's an SAP consultant, and I invited him to ERP Talks. He
Mhm.
said that AI will not replace you, but someone who are using AI will replace
Mhm.
you. So,
Absolutely.
so let's talk marketing.
Oh,
And
yay, my favorite. Okay.
you mentioned Mountain Dew, you mentioned Amazon, I
Yeah.
believe.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
mentioned big names in the
Yeah.
marketing. So marketing in the ERP industry is not easy.
Mm-mm.
Yesterday, I was in a meeting with some business owners, and like 99% they are in the ERP industry, and they mentioned that they have the big issues, they have
Mhm.
like big challenges in
Mhm.
the marketing
Mhm.
and how to generate leads, how to like do marketing in the ERP.
Mhm.
So the ERP industry is highly competitive. We know
Mhm.
that. And
Mhm.
so how can companies differentiate themselves? What is the messages should they highlight to attract more prospects
I
in
mean,
marketing?
I completely understand that because there is a lot of crossover when it comes to services provided as well. So I think there's lots of marketplaces in business that are highly competitive, and ERP happens to be one of them. Although I would challenge that approach just a little bit in the fact that I think there's a lot of very niche areas in ERP when it comes to system specific advisory, system implementers, data migration. So there's a lot of community support in those strategic partnerships. Say I have a very difficult, complex SAP S/4HANA migration, and I know that this client's data is a dumpster fire. Then I call you, Khalid, who owns a data migration firm, and say like, hey dude, I need help on this, can you please come over and take a look? So I think there's lots of synergies for us to work together, as well as the competitive nature of the industry.
Right.
So I do see it like that. I think when it comes to looking at ERP, a lot of times what happens is our ERP advisory team gets trapped in traditional marketing. When we look at things like SEO, when we look at paid ads, traffic drivers, acquisition spaces, and they really want to have that more transactional based business where we're looking at those are built for more e-commerce business. So we have a user that's coming to a website to purchase a watch, right? That's not our business model. We have a full relationship with our customers for years on end that we need to be able to establish that trust prior to the sale. Because if I'm picking between Bert and Ernie to be my advisors, a lot of times they have the same competencies, they're selling the same thing, but Bert may have the ability in which they created trust in the marketplace through things like an influencer profile or being involved in the conversation. And Ernie might be awesome, but at the same time, I don't see that same trust and authenticity that I see for Bert. So I'm going to go with Bert because of that relationship. So I think the biggest piece of understanding that is, again, looking at your current state. What do you have in your overall data that you can excavate to give you insights? Is there a certain niche market that you've fallen in that you want to do some targeting in that area? Or is there some value that you can bring and get those conversions through that? The main thing that I see when I go in and assess a business is the lack of lead generation assets. So for us, again, we're creating that relationship. We don't want someone to just visit our website and then go away, right? We want to get them into our CRM so that we're able to continue to provide them with content in our CRM and on social media so that they're continuing to grow this relationship. Bert's becoming that trusted advisor, and Ernie's just hoping that his phone rings. And hopes and dreams don't sell engagements, right? Unfortunately. So I think the biggest thing is creating those lead generation pathways through your front end business processes so that you can continue to build up your contact database. Because a lot of times we're a year out from people buying what that we need them to buy. They're just in this kind of information garnering stage, and we need them to understand that Z Consulto is the trusted advisor in that information stage. So for a couple of months, we're giving them marketing emails, we're posting on social media, they're following us there. They're creating a passive relationship with our business and our brand to be able to see us as the trusted advisor. So that's the biggest thing that I see, is utilizing those traditional marketing tactics that are built again for more of an e-commerce brand, as opposed to really focusing on how do I get this contact into my CRM so that I can create an ongoing relationship with them.
My God. This is amazing. But
Okay.
do you think that business owners have the time to do that?
No. No,
Yeah.
no, I don't. I mean, I think that there's efficiencies that they create, and that's what we help a lot of our clients do, is our clients often don't have, a 25-person marketing team. Sometimes they don't have a marketing team nor
Yeah.
a sales team. So what we do is create our content mapping that is like turning on a machine so that it is more passive, and we're using our things like social scheduling tools and SEO generation and content repurposing. We do a podcast that turns into a blog, that turns into a video, that turns into a short, that turns into all of those different areas that we're actually putting out there, so that we're focusing on the efficiency so that the actual business owner can go and do what he or she is best at, which is delivering client work. So that is the goal of really addressing those front end processes, not overcomplicating it, and creating a place in which you can have this efficient partner that's delivering a lot of that for you with your collaboration, because it needs to sound like you, it needs to be authentic like you, and you need to go in there and really join those digital conversations like SAP communities, give your feedback, and be an involved member of the community.
Perfect. I will work with you. I told you that. I believe that we need something like that. It's overwhelming for us to do all of that. We are not
Mhm.
experts on that, because this is something that every business owner is it's a big challenge for them. I can see that. So I was in a workshop in Atlanta in May. 99% of them mentioned that they have big challenges on the
Mhm.
marketing stuff.
Mhm.
And also 2 days ago, a different group of business owners, and also they mentioned the same thing.
Mhm.
We have like a big issue. We have a big challenge with marketing ourselves. It's not easy. The customer behavior, it changes
Mhm.
so fast now. They don't know how to do it. You mentioned that the social media presence, how also should they like open their phones and take some videos and share it on
Yeah.
the social? Really?
Well, yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. There's many times where I have to rip away the teleprompter from some of our clients and just talk to them and have because they are so smart, but that is not their wheelhouse, right? They're not who is comfortable when they put a camera right in front of your face and you're like, and ERP is enterprise resource plan. We don't want to come off as unauthentic. And so a lot of times that short form content where you do just do a video with something in hand and say, hey guys, my client asked me a question. I'm curious to hear your feedback, but here's my 2 cents on it. And then you're able to just share that out into the community. And then they're able to share their expertise because maybe they may have a different idea than you have, and it's a better one. That happens all the time. That's the point of collaboration, is to be able to, get ideas and crowdsource ideas, to make sure that you're kind of up on the latest trends. And have those conversations just like we're doing now, to be able to provide that insight to the community. So I would say a lot of people have a little bit of imposter syndrome on that side, like, who am I, to just bring out my phone and start talking. But the thing that I would do, a tool that I utilize all the time that I feel like is underrated, is the Google Keyword Planner. And now you need a Google Ads account to use the Keyword Planner. But if you Google Keyword Planner and you go into the keywords and you discover new keywords and you type in NetSuite implementer, and then it pops out all of the search keywords that are attached to the search term NetSuite. And so they give you like NetSuite best practices, NetSuite, it gives you all of these different content
Hey,
themes that are already popular in the internet. And then you're able to have a data-driven list that's actually insightful, not just like what you thought you should talk about, right? You actually have kind of more of a strategic approach behind it. And then you just start going down that list and say, today I'm going to talk about the importance of selecting a NetSuite specific SI as opposed to, one of the big four SIs. You can talk about the importance of those things, but that way it gives you an idea of what you should be talking about in the marketplace. And then when we distribute it, that's the most important thing. You can create the most amazing, shiny, sparkly, insightful content, but if you don't have the distribution behind it, no one's going to see it. So that's really where it comes down to the nuance of who are you talking to and are you engaging your community. If you see my content, I tag Khalid a lot. I tag a bunch of people that are specialists in that to join the conversation so that we're able to actually get in the comments and have a conversation. It's a dynamic piece of content as opposed to a static piece of content that just sits there and nobody does anything with. Ask a question, give them a call to action, ask for their opinion in the space, and then they'll give it to you. Just like you mentioned, Khalid, when you 9 times out of 10, when you reach out to someone in the SAP space, they're not going to be like, oh, go away, I hate you, right? They're going to be like, hey, this is my 2 cents on that, because they're passionate about what they do. So that's the biggest thing, is the distribution mechanism, but you got to start somewhere. So if there's one thing you can do today, is commit to a discipline of one video a day. Just take one video a day, start to put it out on LinkedIn, see what happens. What's the worst that can happen? Is that no one watches it? Well, then you tweak your strategy, and it's just like a system that nobody uses. What are you going to do? Use your project management mind to find the next solve, to find the next innovation out of getting your content out there.
great answer, always. So, two things. Number one, to find what people are searching for by doing the Google keyword, the planner thing. You go and see what is the trend or what people are saying, because maybe you will shoot a video that no one
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah. So, and number two, the distribution, how to
Mhm.
distribute that. You're talking about the timing, the platform that I should like share my stuff on, and also to make it like a kind of what you mentioned that.
Like a call to action you want. Like, what are you trying to
Yeah,
do? Are you trying to get them to answer your question? Are you trying to get them to provide insight? What?
interaction. Yeah,
Yeah.
interactive. You
Hmm.
need someone to answer. You need it like that. Don't like shoot a typical video that you will say something that no one will like interact. Make it like a conversation. I like that. I like that so much.
Good.
And it's a free, guys. This is a
It's
free
free.
advices.
Yeah.
This is
Free.
free advices. We should start doing that. Uh, so before we move to this question, the last thing about the marketing, if I will hire a marketer in the
Hmm.
ERP industry, two things. What is the time frame that I should
Hmm.
expect from them to give me results? And what is the main skills or main experiences? Because it's hard to find someone working
Yeah.
in the ERP as a marketer.
Hmm.
So most of them are coming from different
Mhm.
industries,
Yeah.
not the ERP, even if it is like a software industry, but the ERP is different.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good question, Khalid. I really like that question. So thank you for asking it, because it's super important. So when we're looking at what should we look for in skill sets, you need to make sure that your marketing candidate or agency has managed service or professional services experience. And you need to see that. And you need to call the other clients that they've worked with and check their references, see who they are, right? And what their experience has been. So that's going to be critical of not only do they have that experience, because again, we're not looking for e-commerce based marketing. We're not looking for, to just buy a license and be done. That's not our business. So you have to prove not only that you have managed service marketing experience, but you know how to create conversions in the CRM. Because you could have 100 million users on your website every single day, but if you can't convert any of them into your CRM, there's no point, because they're not calling you, they're not contacting you, they're not interacting with the brand. So they could be there for sure on the internet, but if we can't actually convert those into calls that we're getting and business that we're executing on, that traffic means nothing. So this marketer is going to need to go to a level deeper of, like, a great question is asked is, what benchmark would you set for conversions on your contacts? And if they have no idea what you're talking about, then just run away immediately, because it's not going to be a good fit for what you need to produce. And then as far as the time frame, this again is what really kind of lights me up. If you're not getting a scorecard from your marketing agency every single week, something is wrong, right? So we might not be able to produce our benchmark conversion rate in the first week, but we can certainly influence traffic, influence organic social attribution, have some data visualization around our attribution channels, have our lead generation assets set up. There is lots to be able to measure in a week's time. So if I'm meeting with my marketing agency every single week, I should have reports, data analytics around how my business is moving. Whether it's your YouTube channel analytics, whether it's your Google analytics, whether it's your LinkedIn analytics, those exist every single week. So if you have a marketer that's like, oh, such and such is going to take 6 months, maybe they're right. Maybe whatever tactic you're doing is going to take 6 months. But that doesn't mean that we can't measure milestones in project progress, just like we do in an ERP implementation, right? We don't just say, oh, this is going to take a year. I guess we'll see results in a year. That's not how you do business in general, especially for a business owner that is so engagement based. You may only have a handful of engagements a year because they're a high ticket profile. So we need to make sure that we're keeping that pipeline healthy. So those are my two recommendations: that you make sure they have managed services, professional service experience, they focus on conversions, and then also that you are getting analytics every single week.
Oh my God. Thank you so much for this answer. I believe that it's a must to have those numbers, and I believe if the marketer is not giving you the numbers, then how can we evaluate their
Mhm.
progress or our progress? So my very last question, and it might be cliche, but I will say it anyway.
Yeah.
So if you have like a time machine and you can go back by
Yeah.
time, what mistakes would you avoid, or what is the advice would you like give to your younger
Oh,
self?
yeah. I certainly would go back and not take myself so seriously. Most definitely. And growing up in the tech space, especially having the blessing of getting to the executive level in my late 20s, early 30s. So I was always the youngest and often the only woman in the room. And I thought that meant that I needed to be really stern and direct and really come down as an authoritarian. And that's not at all who I am personally. So a lot of times when people would see me in the boardroom and then see me outside in personal life, they would be like, you're a totally different person. And I thought that's what I needed to be as a leader. And I couldn't have been more wrong in that situation. And when I started to really embrace my personality, my empathy, my ability to humanize the people that I work with, my clients, and really show up as who I really was, Kyler. I found that they were much more likely to be influenced and lead and be, loyal and stay with the team that I led. So if I could go back to myself, I would say, please don't put on this like, dictator persona where you think everyone needs to take you seriously. You can both be firm and kind. Is, something that I really take seriously. I think for coming up in the space, the one thing that I always give advice to the consultants, it doesn't matter if it's your first day on a project, you still have value to bring to the table. Your job is to listen and to learn all of those different things. But that doesn't mean that you can't, bring up your insight, your thoughts, your questions about what's going on. Show up to be a learner, show up to, be involved in your project community. And that will get you so much farther. Because I can't tell you the amount of business owners, or chief executives at software companies that I work with that say, their number one thing is they don't really care if you're an SAP specialist. They care if you're willing to learn to be an SAP specialist and you're willing to put in, the work and get there. So that's the biggest thing that I would say, especially when it comes to putting content out on the internet. A lot of people are like, well, I don't have 30 years of SAP experience. Well, nobody has 30 years of SAP experience. I know, one of my colleagues who's done 30 SAP implementations, which is a lot. I'm like, did you start when you were like 12 or like what happened there? But so nobody has that type of experience. You still can put out content, and maybe it's just a video of you saying, you know what, I'm new to the ERP area. I just got my SAP certification. I'm wondering, how do you guys find your first project? Make the video, click, and then post it on the on your profile. And I guarantee people will be more willing to answer your question, even if you're showing up in that, because a lot of other people have that question too. So that's always kind of my main piece of advice to consultants is just show up to learn and know that you still have value to give, even if it's not 30 years of experience in the industry.
So thank you so much, Kyler, for your time today. I really
Mhm.
enjoyed this episode,
Me
and I
too.
believe the listeners too. Thank you for the 10% discount on the
Yeah.
assessment. And thank you for all the insights and all the tips that you gave us
Mhm.
today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so deeply grateful to you and the listeners, Clede.
Thank you, Kyler. Thank you for joining us today. We hope you gained valuable insights from this episode. ERP Talks is dedicated to bringing you expert advice and knowledge in the ERP industry. If you found this episode helpful, please share it with someone who could benefit. Don't forget to follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and your favorite platforms. Stay tuned for more insights from leading ERP experts.